Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everyone. I declare the parliamentary dimension on the fourth Ukraine Recovery Conference, which I declare it open after the meeting that was held yesterday at the presence of the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the Italian Prime Minister Giorgio Meloni. I would like to thank all our Ukrainian and Italian colleagues who are here, not to mention the representatives of Armenia, Azerbaijan and Norway. We are also joined remotely the Vice Speaker of the Maltan President, Angelo Farrugia, and I thank him wholeheartedly. Our schedule today is quite packed, so in order for everyone to deliver their speeches, I kindly remind you that your interventions will have to be 3 to 4 minutes long. This is in order for everyone to deliver their interventions. But before we start, I would like to share with you the need to think and to pay tribute to all the victims of all this war of aggression, all those who are suffering, not necessarily from a physical point of view, but also from a psychological and spiritual point of view. So I kindly ask you to stand for a minute of silence. Thank you.
Vi ringrazio.
Thank you.
Ho l'onore di porgere a tutti i presenti
It is my honor to convey the greetings of the Speaker of the Italian Chamber of Deputies, Mr. Lorenzo Fontana. For years, he has been actively fostering parliamentary relations with Ukraine and has been in close contact with the Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada, Ruslan Stefanchuk. They recently met at the NATO Parliamentary Summit in Brussels on the eve of the Hague Summit. On my own behalf and on behalf of the Italian members of the Parliamentary Collaboration Group between the two chambers of the two countries, I would like to give a warm welcome to our friends, the first Vice Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada, Alexandra Korniyenko, to Vice Speaker Olena Kondratyuk, and to Sergei Alexeyev and Daria Volodina in their capacity as co-chairs of the Ukrainian delegation to the Parliamentary Collaboration Group between the two chambers. Very warm welcome to all other participants in today's event, which is taking place on the sidelines of the Ukraine Recovery Conference. This year, the event is being hosted in Rome by the Italian government in close coordination with the Ukrainian authorities. Since its inauguration in 2022, it has been a valuable platform for dialogue on current issues of great importance. The aim is to continue the ongoing dialogue with our Ukrainian counterparts, coordinate international support, and develop plans and projects that ensure a speedy recovery for Ukraine, with particular focus on private investment. This is precisely why participation has been extended to institutional stakeholders as well as international and multilateral partners from the private sector. It is this synergy that results in ideas and proposals that translate into concrete actions. Since its inception in 2022, the governmental conference has been held alongside a parliamentary one. This enables the people's elected representatives to have their say and provides a valuable platform for bringing together and discussing different views and perspectives. The importance of carrying on with this practice was also reiterated during our visit to Ukraine in the framework of the parliamentary cooperation group between the two chambers. During our visit to Ukraine from the 1st to the 5th of October 2024, we held numerous meetings with institutional and civil society representatives and visited places symbolizing Ukraine's resistance. By doing so, we were able to see firsthand the huge hardships and terrible human tragedy that the Ukrainian people have been experiencing for almost 3.5 years. But we were also fascinated by the dignity and courage with which they continue to resist and fight to defend their land, their identity and their values. This experience has further strengthened our determination to fulfill the commitments that we have made to this country in the face of the brutal Russian aggression. Let me now briefly introduce today's agenda. The meeting will focus on two topics. The first session will be devoted to private investment and economic recovery, with particular emphasis on public-private partnerships, the legal framework for protecting businesses and industrial activities, as well as investment incentives. The second session will delve into human capital and social resilience, with a specific focus on the return and reintegration of refugees, training and education, support for veterans and the most vulnerable groups of the population, as well as prospects for a more prosperous, safe and secure future for Ukraine's people. I have also proposed establishing a parliamentary monitoring mechanism in order to ensure coordination between the various initiatives and effective monitoring of their implementation, as well as the achievement of their objectives. With the conflict still ongoing, it is impossible to accurately estimate the damage and reconstruction needs. According to the most recent estimates by the World Bank related to the February 2022-December 2024 period, the total cost of rebuilding the country over the next 10 years will be $524 billion. According to this analysis, the most affected sectors are housing, transport, energy infrastructure, trade, industry, agriculture, education and health. I'm also keen to reiterate that Ukraine's reconstruction is one of the cornerstones of Italy's overall support to Kiev in addressing the urgent humanitarian needs caused by the war and promoting the best possible conditions for the reconstruction of the socio-economic fabric. The Italian Parliament continues to support government initiatives aimed at providing Ukraine with the necessary humanitarian, financial, logistical and industrial support. To this end, relevant measures have always been approved both by the majority and the opposition. Ukraine reconstruction was one of the priorities of the G7 presidency held by Italy in 2024. The lower houses of the G7 countries convened in the Italian city of Verona on the 6th of September 2024, which was also attended by the Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada, Ruslan Stefanchuk. The meeting's final declaration also reaffirmed unconditional solidarity with Kyiv in its struggle for independence and reconstruction. The motion subsequently approved by the Italian Chamber of Deputies always reiterated the Italian government's commitment to keeping contributing to the recovery and development initiatives undertaken at the European level and within the international alliances of which Italy is a member. This happened precisely ahead of the recovery conference taking place here in Rome. Last November, the Italian Parliament approved Law number 163 of the 6th of November 2024 on the ratification of 4 international agreements on Italy's participation in the emergency restoration of hydroelectric power plants in Ukraine, in collaboration with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. The overall value of these interventions is €200 million, 100 of which will be disbursed by Italy. In such a complex endeavour, Italy can count on a wide network of stakeholders, including CIMEST, which is today represented by Mr. Marco Cantalamessa, Director of Strategy and Sustainable Innovation, as well as the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation in Kyiv, which is directed with great professionalism and enthusiasm by Mr. Pietro Pipi. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks for their presence, certain as I am that their contribution will offer valuable perspectives on the topics on the agenda. The political and diplomatic path remains the best way to give Ukrainians hope for the future. We hope that negotiations on a just and lasting peace will be successful as soon as possible. This will create more favorable conditions for the reconstruction of a stronger, safer, and more prosperous country. Today, as we look to Ukraine, which has been suffering from the Russian aggression, we reaffirm here our commitment to peace. We are sure that reconstruction is not just a material endeavor, but it is also a political and a human commitment to a country that has defended its peace. Time has come to lay the groundwork for a future of hope. That's why we are here. This is the only way through which the Ukrainian people, after resisting the Russian aggression, will be able to look to a future of prosperity, security, and well-being. Thank you.
Grazie.
Thank you. I have now the pleasure to give the floor to Mr. Alexander Kornienko, First Deputy Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada, so that he can deliver his speech. Please, the floor is yours.
Giorgio, наш друг, справжній друг України, який...
Thank you. I would like to thank the Italian Parliament. We are very grateful for having the opportunity to exchange our experiences. We represent different parliaments here. We know that the Italian and the Ukrainian parliaments are represented or are composed of different parties. We know that in a parliament there are always points of convergence towards the development or on the development of Ukraine. During the reconstruction or the recovery conference, we have devoted some time to the parliamentary dimension, to all we do in Ukraine, how we overcome the consequences of this war, how we prepare Ukraine to join the EU, the situation of human rights in order to guarantee the safety of investors. We've been trying to talk about these issues from different perspectives, for sure. Words to us are important, but equally important are the facts that the Republic of Italy has been doing. Italy is not only concerned with reconstruction and peace, but also with supporting our defense, and this precisely will help to achieve peace as soon as possible. We thank the Italian Republic for supplying us with air defense systems, and we hope that this collaboration will continue. Dangers come from the sky. Our civilian infrastructure, not just military one, is hit. In our cities, children are forced to study underground or online. In our cities, our entire infrastructure is underground. We're talking about hospitals. and more. And Putin has been doing so to deprive us of the possibility to live in peace. He has been occupying and destroying our territory. To us, it is important to talk about this issue, about what we can do now. It is important to talk about the importance of investing in the defense sector. We can also talk about the decisions we have been making in our parliament about partnerships, about defense. Here we have representatives of various standing committees, and they can share the experiences and the work they have been accomplishing. We also have representatives of the civil society. They are and also those who are responsible for regional policies. Ukraine, like Italy, attaches great importance to local communities who have many rights and also many chances to do things from within. Nothing can put together things. What can bring people together is first and foremost the possibility of facing these issues all together. Thank you very much for organizing this event. We are open to discussion. We are open to questions. And if the need arises, we can deliver interventions. But I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to our cities. We invite you to Ukraine. We want to show you Kyiv. I think in December or next autumn, we can sum up what we have, what we'll have accomplished, and we will have the chance to show you the way our parliament works. In a short while, we will mark the 6th anniversary of this parliamentary relationship. We still have many challenges ahead when it comes to security. We want to share our experiences. Thank you, Mr. Giorgio, and I would like to thank our colleagues. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. And as you surely know, we will also be in Kiev in the fall, and we will soon announce the exact dates. I would now like to ask the chairman of the political committees of the Senate and of the Chamber of Deputies. We'll begin with Senator Giulio Tessi di Sant'Agata. Over to you, Mr. Chairman.
È il bicameralismo imperfetto.
This is an example of imperfect bicameralism. Thank you, President Mulè. I must say that I'm grateful for having been invited today. This is a wonderful opportunity. My warmest greetings to Alexander Kornienko and Olena Kondratyuk. Now, we are here with President Vigna, and recently we went to the COSAC meeting in Copenhagen. That was a very interesting meeting, I must say, and we had the opportunity to meet with important representatives, high-level representatives, and in particular we had the opportunity to listen to the introduction by Madam Olena Kondratyuk, who was guiding us as to what is happening in Ukraine. And we also discussed the conference on rebuilding and resilience, I would add, of Ukraine, the conference that is being held at the moment in Rome, together with all sorts of side events. Now, a number of issues were raised at the meeting. There is a great awareness of the need and the urgency to have a solid European pillar within the Atlantic Alliance as a form of stabilization and to guarantee security and defense all over Europe, and especially an engagement which must increase over time with regard to defense spending. Now, there was an an address that was made by the Minister of Defense, Troels Lund Poulsen, on industrial cooperation, the dual-use industry and defense industry as well, because that can be seen as a model of what might happen in other countries as well within our relations with Ukraine. Now, it's clear that this isn't part of the conference that is being held in Rome. It's not part of this discussion, but it is an issue which might become interesting in the future if we consider also the trust that our people need, because security in Ukraine means the security and the defense of Europe as well. So they are closely linked, you see. And the first point, therefore, that I wish to underscore is the political significance of what is happening in Rome these days now, and all the side events that are being held, such as the one we're holding here today, the side events of the Conference on the Rebuilding, on the recovery of the country. So we need to rebuild peace, of course, and we've heard this in a number of statements made by parliamentarians in Atlantic and European countries in these past few days. Italy is playing a lead role. I won't go over the figures that have already been provided by Italian and international press organizations. This morning there are programs, there are projects, there are agreements involving huge companies, and just think of energy, for example, the energy sector, but also advanced technology. So we have Finmeccanica, we have Enel, Terna, and Snam. These are huge companies. Yesterday we heard from our Prime Minister, Giorgio Mulè. Let me just repeat some of her remarks. This path towards rebuilding will not be an easy one. However, the conference is a starting point for the Ukrainian economic miracle. All schools, all hospitals, all churches that will be rebuilt are a piece of ourselves. Our piece are a part of Europe. And one final point that I wish to raise is that in today's discussion, I think we need to focus on the central role of Ukraine in the multinodal connectivity, the network in Europe, because European corridors must be able to pass through Ukraine. The ports, the seaports, the building of ports, this is all an important part of this rebuilding effort, Odessa, for example. And we also need to consider the three seas, the Baltic Sea, the Black Sea, and the Mediterranean Sea, and the Adriatic, of course. And this means an enlargement of the European Union, and it means that the defense and security of all of Europe must be have a united front, and an important pillar is in Ukraine, in fact. And thank you very much, and we'll now hand over to Alessandro Giglio Vigna. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I am honored to be able to take the floor. I wish to greet you on behalf of the Committee on Political and European Union Affairs here at the Chamber of Deputies. I am the chair, in fact, of the European Union Policies Committee in this Parliament. Now, clearly, Italy can not only be focused on how to manage the emergency, but we need a strategy. We need a strategic and well-structured engagement. When we talk about rebuilding, we're not just repairing what has been destroyed. It means that we must contribute to the rebirth of a country that, of course, is focused on its future within the international community overall. And within the rebuilding process of this country, the national parliaments have an important role to play. So we do have a key role to play ourselves, and it is important, therefore, to facilitate an open and ongoing dialogue between different levels of national and regional governance, and this rebuilding must not be viewed as something that comes from the top down, but it is a process which plays out through a multi-level cooperation. So local authorities, regions, universities, businesses, civil society, associations, all of these organizations must be fully involved, and their role must be enhanced. I would include the third sector as well. Now, interparliamentary cooperation, which we are promoting actively today, is a key element of all of this. Italy wants to do this, and we can continue to play a lead role in the rebuilding of Ukraine, and we have to provide our know-how, our skills in strategic sectors, which will enable economic recovery, energy, infrastructure, urban development. We are able to drive investments and new opportunities through this effort. Dear colleagues from Ukraine, here in Italy, we are at your disposal. We have plenty of energy, we have know-how, we have top players, and some have already been mentioned. Enel, Finmeccanica, these are huge companies here in Italy that are engaged. And we also have our government agencies, for example, Invitalia. We have small and large companies in transport, in the construction industry, digitization. So these are the sectors that are there for you. And Italy is willing to play a key role. So the President asked us, what can we do in actual fact? Well, today, as individual parliamentarians, and I'm now addressing my Italian colleagues, I think it's quite simple. I think that we each come from an area. We have our constituencies, and we share a great responsibility, which is to try to foster propaganda through the media and the local players in our country. This way, it will be possible to work on the rebuilding of Ukraine. Of course, Mr. President and my dear friends from the Ukrainian delegation, we have another responsibility as well, and that is to interface with our parliamentary colleagues. Not all of them are present today here, so we need to work together. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page, we're all doing the same thing, because this way we will be more successful in increasing the role of Italy in your country. To support Ukraine today means to enforce the shared values which lay the foundation for a just and long-lasting peace. We must be aware that cooperation between our parliaments is an essential pillar for all this. So if my Italian colleagues agree, then I think this is the mode of operation that we might elect and we might commit to. Thank you. Thank you very much to President Giulio Vigna.
Con molto piacere.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Olena Kondrachuk, Deputy Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada. Over to you, please. Dear friends, dear colleagues, first of all, our colleagues from the Italian Parliament, thank you very much for hosting us, for giving us the opportunity to meet you, to us, to the Ukrainian people, to the parliamentary representatives, the different parties that represent the Ukrainian people. To us, it is a great honor for us to meet you today. We would like to talk about the issues that are not just relevant to Ukraine, but to Europe as a whole, to world security as a whole. I would just like to say a few words from a political point of view. It is very important in the framework of our collaboration to talk about, of course, to talk about renovation. Well, actually, it sounds quite strange when we are in Ukraine. In Rome, it is different. We're talking about two different situations, two different models, because in Ukraine, we believe that our people don't understand quite well when we talk about security, because they see as many as 600 drones hit them every day, in addition to ballistic missiles. I would like to highlight that it's not just the cities which are close to the front line, but all cities are actually exposed to these attacks. There is no city in Ukraine that is 100% safe and secure, because Russia's technology can reach every inch of Ukraine's soil. So when we talk about renovation, well, this is not possible without real security. I would like to focus on this aspect, on the centrality or the central role of security and the possibility of having air defense. Once again, I would like to thank Italy for supplying us with a new system that will be coming to us next autumn. Thank you very much indeed for that. It is not just military aid. It is also humanitarian. It is also kind of a humanitarian aid. Another very important issue is unanimity as far as sanctions are concerned, because the 18th packet of sanctions is not in iPhone 18. Why can many companies bypass these sanctions? That's why we have to focus on this issue as well. So we hope that our biggest partner, which is the United States, will approve this package. To us, this will be a great step in helping us defend Ukraine, but also in easing Russians or diffusing Russia's escalation. Then there is also financial aid. We've already talked about this issue. Ukraine must use these Ukraine must use Russian frozen assets for its reconstruction. When we talk about our political representatives, I would also like to mention Prime Minister Meloni. She said that she urged not to be afraid of investing in Ukraine, because this means investing in Europe. She also said that investing in Ukraine means investing in ourselves. So when we look to recovery, not just from we have to do so not just from an economic point of view. We have to invest in security and defense. So I know there are different standpoints when it comes to increasing the percentage of defense spending. However, I would like to urge Italy to talk about this issue. We know that there are some countries that have increased the military spending up to 3 or 5%. I understand that after the last NATO summit, the approach to this issue has changed. It is important to talk about this issue, and it will become even more important in the future, because without defense we cannot talk about reconstruction. Another important aspect is Ukraine joining the EU. We must open the first cluster of negotiations so that we can at least overcome the Hungarian position. Today, perhaps we can talk about changing the point 7 or Article 7 of the EU statute. I don't know whether we can talk about this, but unanimity when it comes to allotting financial resources can be in conflict with the Hungarian point of view, knowing that a Hungarian Prime Minister stands with Putin. We would like to thank all representatives of the Council of Europe. This collaboration is extremely important. Thank you very much for your support for each and every resolution on some sensitive issues as well, such as the return of our IDPs, the return of our children. This is a huge work, this is a huge job that has been done at the Council of Europe. So thank you very much indeed for that. I would also like to thank NATO Parliamentary Assembly, and I would like to thank all representatives from the Italian Parliament because we can feel this support. And we are very much grateful because we understand that the only way to achieve security in Ukraine is NATO. In conclusion, I would like to focus on two aspects.
Перше, це рішення Європейського суду з прав людини, який буквально там
First, the historical decision taken by the Human Rights Court, or the ruling actually issued by the Human Rights Court. According to this ruling, Russia has been acknowledged as a terrorist country and has been held accountable of the 2014 crimes, the crimes that occurred in 2014, especially when it comes to the children that were forcibly deported from Crimea. Then there is the establishment of the International Court, which was joined by 39 countries. We are waiting for the ratification of these accords and agreements. We understand that all these agreements will be ratified in the Italian Parliament as well, and this will be extremely important. It is an extremely important decision, I mean, the establishment of the International Tribunal, because this is the only way to make Russia pay for the aggression. So I actually urge you to pay special focus or special attention to these issues. This is a humanitarian problem. This is the largest humanitarian problem since World War II. 50% of our budget is devoted to defense. We have many shortcomings. We are suffering from a huge budget deficit, and we need, thanks to the support of our partners, to help all those who have been affected by war. So and now we can focus and we can move on with the agenda. Thank you. Now there are a series of speeches. First, Mrs. Elisabetta Gardini, head of the Italian delegation to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. At the end of June, President Zelensky delivered a speech at the session. Many things have been mentioned, have already been mentioned, also when it comes to what the Council of Europe does. I would like to welcome all participants, and in particular, I would like to thank Vice President Giorgio Mulè, who has once again promoted a forum for parliamentary debate, which is fundamental. He has invited me to attend in my capacity as chairwoman of the Italian delegation to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. I would also like to emphasize that Italy has always stood by Ukraine and has never wavered in its support for Ukraine's territorial integrity, full sovereignty, and independence. After 3 years, unfortunately, the Ukrainian people continue to suffer great injustice, and we are all convinced of the need to help them defend themselves by using every means available to initiate a peace and reconstruction process. Within the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, we cooperate, we have close cooperation with our Ukrainian colleagues. There is a large delegation from Ukraine who are led by a wonderful woman with whom we do a great job. The initiatives that the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe has adopted over the last few years with the contribution of our Ukrainian delegation are many indeed. I would like to mention just a few. First of all, the release of forcibly deported persons, in particular children. A few instruments have been promoted to enable deported children to return to their homeland. As you mentioned, Mr. Vice President, the Assembly also promoted the establishment of a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine with Resolution 2436, which was adopted on April 28, 2022. The PACE supported the establishment of an ad hoc tribunal to ensure the accountability of the Russian Federation for gross violations of international humanitarian law and other international crimes. This tribunal is to be set up through an agreement between the Council of Europe and Ukraine. And as you mentioned, on June the 25th, a few days ago, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky traveled to Strasbourg. On behalf of the Ukrainian government, he signed with the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Mr. Alain Berset, the agreement establishing the special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. I believe this is an important step because the establishment of this tribunal marks an important step towards criminal proceedings against senior Russian officials responsible for the start of the war. This legal mechanism is the only one that allows us to strengthen accountability where existing international courts currently have no jurisdiction. During his visit to Strasbourg to sign the agreement, President Zelensky addressed the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe and thanked it for its strong and consistent support. He said very important things. He sent a firm and clear message that I would like to convey to you. We must all remain united. We share the same values, even if we see them from different perspectives. That's why we must stand united in the face of Putin's aggression. Europe, Ukraine, and the United States. On that occasion, he also recalled the friendship, Italy's and the United States friendship, and he also mentioned that Italy and the United States are friends of Ukraine, and he also reiterated something that Italy promoted in the past. I mean that Europe and the United States must remain united, must remain allies of Ukraine. And this is strengthened today thanks to the commitments that we make together to rebuilding this war-torn country, because Kyiv is not alone in its struggle for resistance.
Parola al collega.
Thank you. And now I'm happy to hand over to Salvatore Caiata, who is the head of the Italian delegation to the parliamentary dimension of the Central European Initiative. And President Caiata, in February, held an event in Matera on the rebuilding of Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, colleagues. I am indeed honored to be able to welcome you to our magnificent parliament and to be able to participate in this side event on the fourth Ukraine Recovery Conference. I thank President Mulè, and let me say from the home of our democracy here that you are and shall always be very welcome. Now, the conference on the rebuilding of Ukraine is being held in Italy, and this shows that the Ukrainian cause is also our cause, and it is the cause of democracy, and we must protect and safeguard the law, the rule of law, and we need to react to aggression and abuse. President Mulè just reminded us of this. As president of the Central European Initiative dimension in February in Matera, we held a meeting with all of the members of the CEI Parliamentary Assembly, and we focused on the rebuilding of Ukraine at that meeting. And why did we choose Matera? It is an Italian city which is the symbol of rebirth and of redemption and emancipation. And this is the rebirth that we must bear in mind in laying the foundations for Ukraine of the future, a European Ukraine. We heard this. Madam President said this. Ukraine, which, of course, shares our democratic values under the same banner, therefore, of democracy. We see the conflict day in and day out, and we know how fearful these events are. And if in Europe we had been more swift in our enlargement process, perhaps this might not have happened at all. Now, had we not been so fearful, in fact, of enlarging the European Union to include many more countries, the Balkan states, but even Ukraine and Moldova, for example, then today we probably wouldn't even be here today to speak about rebuilding, because there wouldn't have been any destruction to begin with. I think it is time now for Europe to realize that a different integration process is needed. It is now time for an all-in. All the countries who wish to be part of the great European family must be able to be members. No ifs, ands, or buts. And of course, there is a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy, which is needed. It will take time to put in place all the required reforms before becoming a member of the European family. In any case, Europe must realize that the integration process is no longer a simply bureaucratic assessment or process, but it is a geopolitical and geostrategic necessity as well. And together, we must push in that very direction. Thank you very much. Let me just wrap up by saying that we will not be afraid. As Prime Minister Meloni said, we are not afraid of investing in Ukraine. We are ready, Italians are ready, Italian businesses are ready, because the word fear is not going to be pronounced, certainly by us, to you, because you are the heroes of resistance. So again, let me extend our very warm welcome to Italy. Thank you, President Kayanta, for your remarks. And now I would ask our colleague Sergei Alexeyev, who is the co-chair of the Ukrainian section of the Group on Interparliamentary Cooperation between the Chamber of Deputies and the Verkhovna Rada. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you to the Italian Parliament for organizing this event, the parliamentary dimension. And I agree with our Deputy Speaker, Olena Kondiatuk, that first and foremost we must focus on security. Today, we must approve major reforms. That way, after the end of the war, Ukraine will become an important country. It will have an important role to play in Europe. So Ukraine has this possibility. Ukraine will not stop. It is continuing to further development. We are investing in the energy sector, for example, and we need to attract more investments. Now, we have a new law on this very matter, on investments, for example, in culture, among others. And today, I would like to say that unless we invest, we will not be able to renew our state infrastructure, our institutions, and that we also have the issue of security. We have to ensure against war risks, even for Italian companies, for example. So this is an important signal to all businesses to come and invest in Ukraine. We are talking here of more than 12 million euros. These investors will have tax relief. They won't be paying taxes on this amount. So this is important for our industry. Italy is a priority partner for us. We cooperate at an interparliamentary level. This began in 2017, and Ukraine, just as Italy, is a decentralized country, as it were, in terms of its setup. So this is an important experience for us. And when we tried this decentralization, we took Italy as a model. We know that this has been important in Italy in defending cultural sites in your health sector, for example, healthcare. So we are already working on some projects in the amount of 63 million euros. Now, when we say investment and innovation, we don't only mean infrastructure, but people as well. The human capital is important for us, so we need a legislative basis, a foundation which will help us to get our people back to their homeland. This is a value added for us, and I'm not saying that we only need laws, but we need to have a clear vision of the future. So through our parliamentary perspective, we will issue a joint statement, the Ukrainian Parliament in cooperation with the Italian Parliament. And in fact, we will be approving some very, very important laws, and that way we will be closer to the European Union, and Ukraine will be a very attractive country when it comes to investment decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sergei. Now I'll give the floor to Mr. Lorenzo Cesa, head of the Italian delegation to the NATO Parliamentary Assembly. The Assembly, by the way, this year celebrates the 70th anniversary of its inception. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. First of all, I would like to extend my very warm welcome to our Ukrainian colleagues with whom we work in close cooperation in various international fora. Thank you, Mr. Vice President Mulè, for organizing this meeting. This is extraordinary to me. I'm very happy to be here. I would like to thank you very much for organizing this event. What has been happening in Ukraine is extremely dangerous. War is raging on. We have been witnessing a very high number of civilian victims, huge civilian destruction due to the ongoing aggression. This pushes us to, this pushes the international community to keep offering to the Ukrainian people not just words, but concrete prospects for peace and reconstruction. Italy is doing so. We've been doing so over the last 2 days. And we will keep doing so. We will keep supporting Ukraine through wide-range support. Italy wants to invest further and further in Ukraine's future and companies. But most of all, it wants to invest in the Ukrainian people, because people are at the core of our policies, because we wanted to help Ukraine achieve a sustainable economic recovery. Italy has been on the political at the political level. Italy has been supporting Ukraine's path to joining the EU and NATO. But what we must do, and that's what we're going to. That's what we are trying to do next week. Is try to let Ukraine join NATO. This is extremely difficult, I know, but in Europe we must do so. This is a strategic choice that strengthens Europe's security and strengthens the bonds between Ukraine and Europe on one hand, and Ukraine and the Euro-Atlantic dimension on the other. I have the honor to lead the Italian delegation to the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, and Ukraine has always been at the core of our debates, both in both at the committee level and at the plenary, and there has always been strong support to strengthening Ukraine's democracy, territorial integrity, sovereignty, and its integration to NATO and Europe. There is also the UNIC, the Ukraine-NATO Interparliamentary Cooperation, which is focused on the aspects linked to the political reforms that Ukraine has been undergoing, including in defense. What must we do in support of defense? The Council has already convened 3 times this year, and it has reaffirmed its political support to Ukraine's defense against the Russian aggression. In addition, the Italian delegation has been holding periodical meetings with the its Ukrainian counterpart, and we have become great friends. And this is something that I really appreciate. And I also speak on behalf of the Italian delegation. During the spring meeting in Dayton in May, the NATO PA has reiterated the need to seek a lasting and a lasting peace in Ukraine. I also take the opportunity to thank Mrs. Malpezzi, who on that occasion presented a very interesting report, which was welcomed by all representatives, including the Americans, who actually were the first who welcomed this or her report. The report highlighted that Ukraine must come out of this war free and enjoying full sovereignty and territorial integrity. Any peace agreement will have to respect Ukraine's democratic choices, will have to reject the illegal annexions by Russia and provide strong security guarantees. Ukraine is building its future on strong foundations, its solidarity with its partners, its path towards joining Europe. On Monday and Tuesday, we'll be working on that as Italy towards this path and support from all the democratic world. And Italy will be part and parcel of this path. We'll keep supporting this path. We are convinced that we can help the Ukrainian people transform pain into hope, destruction into a rebirth, escape into return. And that's what Mrs. Zelensky said. We cannot live in a country that has lost all its people. So we really hope that everyone can return peacefully to Ukraine. Thank you, Mr. Chesa. And we would also like to salute Mrs. Malpezzi, who has joined us from online. I'll now give the floor to Daria Volodina, co-chair of the Ukraine section of the Group on Interparliamentary Cooperation between the Chamber of Deputies. Dear friends from Ukraine and from Italy, first of all, I'd like to thank Italy, the parliament, the government and the region for their solidarity and support to Ukraine since the onset of this full-scale aggression. We recall each and every decision of the parliament and the government. Even in our darkest times, people trusted us, and we are very thankful. This support is extremely important today. Life in Ukraine now seems a horror movie. I know that many are tired of hearing about bombardments, victims and so on. But unfortunately, this is not a movie. This is reality. When we, at 4 a.m., we greet our families to go to our offices or our jobs at 8 a.m., we don't know whether we'll be back. Today, Italy is a true ally in our fight towards liberty and renovation. Today's formula is renovation. Since February the 24th, 2022, we have approved a large number of laws. We have never stopped working. We have worked on decentralization, collaboration with international institutions. We have done or passed a great number of reforms, for example, anti-corruption committee. We have made many steps towards digitalizing the country, but we understand that Ukraine's renovation is a joint project, as President Zelensky said yesterday. And this process must see the participation of all our friends, and Italy is a friend of Ukraine. The Parliament plays a very important role because it is also very important to to achieve and monitor security and trust. So I would like to propose a few things. for example, twinnings, private investments, and so on and so forth. And as my colleague Alexei said, investments are very important. Ukraine is open for business. We have set up a large number of mechanisms to attract investments.
Законодавство про індустріальні парки, їхній для бізнесу, і тут дуже багато вже вказано сьогодні, тому я не буду
We have set up a large number of industrial complexes. We have talked a great deal about this, and I'm not going to talk about them again. Mrs. Kondratyuk and other colleagues said that investing in Ukraine means investing in Europe, means investing in our joint future. Italian companies can take part in renovating all strategic efforts. It seems a dangerous process right now, but I would like to highlight that we shouldn't be afraid. It's much easier to so I urge you to actually be part of the reconstruction of our country. Please invest in our joint future. Also about fear. This is something I didn't want to say now, but I'm saying it anyway. Today I'm in Italy with my little girl. Yesterday she heard a few fireworks and she said, "What's happening? What's going on? Where's the shelter?" That's what she told me. So this is to tell you that this reality is really, really dreadful. So I really ask Italy, I really hope that Italy and any other country in the world will never have to face such odd situations. Thank you very much for your trust. Thank you very much for your support. Long live Italy, long live Ukraine.
And we can now close with Eugenio Zoffoli, who is the head of the Italian delegation to the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. And I wish to congratulate him because recently he was appointed deputy chair of the deputy president of the OSCE Assembly. Thanks to the support of Ukraine as well. Over to you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you to our friends from Ukraine. I must say that I'm very moved in speaking today. I just heard the words of Daria Volodina, and she talked to us about her little girl. And I must say that I remember with great emotion when we left with an empty bus and my car, and we drove towards the border with Ukraine. We left from Milan, and we came back with 42 people on board, women and children. And there were 42 Ukrainian refugees, and we brought them back to Italy here. So I must say that I'm very moved in remembering this, and it is an honor for me to be able to take the floor today on behalf of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. I'm happy to represent the Italian delegation, and in particular, I'm a member of the Parliamentary Support Team for Ukraine. This is a working group which has a clear mission, which is to provide concrete political and human support to Ukraine. During the annual session of the OSCE that was held last week in Porto, the Assembly adopted a clear and unmistakable declaration which reaffirms the full support for sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence for Ukraine. And this declaration, this statement, firmly condemns the Russian aggression. It denounces the deportation of civilians, including children, and we ask that the Russian Federation be held liable for war crimes and the destruction of the infrastructure and cultural heritage of the country. This document is a clear political and moral message which strengthens diplomatic pressure and mobilizes international support for peace and the rebuilding of Ukraine. From the very start of the Russian aggression, the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly took a very clear position, full support for Ukraine. The A parliamentary support team for Ukraine was established to make sure that this priority continues to be alive and continues to operate over time through concrete actions, field visits, and institutional cooperation. In 2025, the Parliamentary Assembly of the OSCE went to Kiev, and one of the main efforts was the strengthening of the resilience of democratic institutions in Ukraine, because they are exposed to the violence of war. But when we talk about resilience, we're not only talking about institutions, but society as well. The Ukrainian society has shown that it is indeed very strong, and we have doctors, activists, teachers, volunteer workers, everyone participated in trying to help the country to hold up, to contain this aggression. And I think that it is important to provide support to the civil society. We must acknowledge their crucial role played in terms of national cohesion in protecting the more vulnerable people and in building long-lasting peace. Now, to prepare Ukraine for rebuilding also means to protect and strengthen its democratic processes, because this is the beating heart of the institutional legitimacy there. The PSTU group of the OSCE believes in free elections, secure and inclusive elections. They must be held when the circumstances permit to uphold international standards. There are Ukrainians who've had to leave. They must be able to vote in these elections, and the civil society must be actively involved as well, because this way democracy is not simply an abstract principle, but it is a practice which is shared and where there is widespread participation. Another important issue is that of the Ukrainian children illegally deported to Russia. Our team has asked for the repatriation of these children, and it is important to prevent this kind of violation of human rights, and we need measures to be taken against those who are responsible for doing that. And before wrapping up, let me just say that we need public and private investments, but also guarantees, so security, transparency, and reforms in order to rebuild Ukraine. The OSCE is ready to support this process. We wish to support Ukraine in strengthening its rule of law, in fighting corruption, and in establishing and fostering development. As a Vice President of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly and head of the Italian delegation, I must say that I am indeed proud to be able to contribute to this collective effort. The rebuilding of Ukraine is not only a technical or economic challenge, as it were, but a moral, political, and historical challenge as well. And as members of Parliament, it is our duty to be able to do just that. Thank you. Thank you, President.